Huffman, Hobgood, and Hobgood. Now, this may sound like a law firm, but these drivers have held court atop the Goody's Dash Series for years. Today, they'll defend themselves against last year's surprise champion, Cam Strader. The stars of NASCAR's Elite V6 Series are all here as Racing Across America stops off in Kentucky. Welcome to Kentucky Speedway, coverage of the NASCAR Goody's Dash Series here on Speed. Today, the 700 WLW 100 from Kentucky Speedway in Sparta, Kentucky. Hello again, everyone. I'm Rick Benjamin. Busch Series star Kenny Wallace alongside. Kenny, you've just finished running a race here in your Busch Series car, and now the NASCAR Goody's Dash machines roll out. These are pretty fast little race cars.
They are, Rick. You know, especially for as small as they are, this is a real fast racetrack, a big mile and a half. These short wheelbase race cars can tend to be a little bit wiggly, especially going down into turn one. Here they are, the Goody Dash cars. You know, on these racetracks, they run a little bit heavier, 2950 on the speedways. All the other racetracks, 2750. You can see their engine components, 270 cubic inch, wheelbase 100 inches. And the big difference is the Goodyear bias ply tires.
Brad McMillan's with us today. He's at the front of the grid.
Rick, because of the weather problems, they're starting this race according to points, and that's not good news for the rest of the field. That means the guy starting on the pole is the points leader, Robert Huffman, who, oh, by the way, has won 8 of the last 11 Dash events on super speedways and the last 5 in a row, including one right here at Kentucky.
Defending race winner. Now, Kenny, you've just finished running here. This is a pretty wide, fast, racy place, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a real fast racetrack. You know, luckily they're running in the daytime because it's a little bit slower. Look at the daytime temperatures, 84 degrees. Track temperature, 95 degrees. It's a little bit cloudy. Chance of rain, again, we've had enough of that this week.
Qualifying and yesterday's race action that was planned for both the Busch Series and the Goody's Dash cars rained out. That's why everything's running here on Sunday at Kentucky Speedway. Well, let's get a sense of the points battle that's gone on so far. We're 5 races into the Goody's Dash Series season. This is round number 6, and it's a season that's been dominated so far by Robert Huffman. As Brett pointed out, he's won 3 of the first 5 races. He's got just a 5-point lead, though, over Jake Hobgood.
I tell you what, that shows you just how competitive this series is. For Robert Huffman to dominate and only have that type of lead, obviously Hobgoods are right on his tail and consistent. See 6th through 10th there, Danny Bagwell, all the way down to 10th, Brian Lofton. So it's pretty close all the way 1 through 10.
Certainly ought to be a great battle to the championship with 9 races remaining in the 2002 Goody's Dash Series season. And this is a racetrack that ought to promote plenty of action here today. Now, our outside pole sitter is Jake Hobgood in car number 64 from Winsboro, South Carolina, the Hobgood Electric Pontiac. He's second in points, but he hasn't been able to get to victory lane so far, so he's got a little extra incentive here as we get ready to roll off this afternoon. Another great story in the lineup, Chuck Gaffrar. He'll pilot car number 52 today. He's from Mooresville, North Carolina. And Kenny Wallace, he came to the racetrack without a ride.
Rick, Chuck used to work for Penske Racing as a fabricator for Rusty Wallace. Now he came to the racetrack. His car that he drove the week before blew a motor, had no race car. When he showed up, here he is. He's got a ride. The kid wants to win Rookie of the Year.
Team says that was the best lap they had seen from that car so far this year with Gaffrar in the saddle. Now, Kentucky's undergone some changes of late. Another track repaving. Here's more from Brett.
This is the second time the Dash cars have been here to the Kentucky Speedway. And last year when they were here, they noticed that there were lanes where the pavement was basically separated. When they laid it down, it wasn't real smooth. That would be all well and good, except for the lanes were not where the groove was, which means as you cross the groove, you're getting a lot of bouncing around. Well, since then, this track has been repaved, and the drivers say it is smooth as silk. And they expect that this year the cars are going to stick a lot better.
Now, Kenny, what would you say? You've been here a couple of times now.
You know, Kentucky is a great racetrack. I mean, look at the grandstands here. They're making an incredible effort. Look at the track description. The length, 1.5 miles, banking into turns, 14 degrees. Through the front straightaway, 8 degrees. Backstretch, a little bit more banked, a little less banked, 4 degrees. But they're trying to get a Winston Cup date here. It's no secret. They worked really hard. They had drainage problem where water was getting underneath the racetrack a year ago. They've spent millions of dollars. Now the racetrack, Rick, is perfectly smooth. It's awesome.
Very impressive facility. We were here earlier in the year for an ARCA Remax Series event as well. So looking forward to seeing the Goody's Dash cars in action at Kentucky Speedway. We'll put this one under green when we come back. Welcome back to Kentucky Speedway here on Speed Channel. Coverage of the NASCAR Goody's Dash Series. With Kenny Wallace, I'm Rick Benjamin, ready to go in the 700 WLW 100. And Kenny, while we were away, Justin Hobgood's machine had to be pushed off from pit road to get fired up.
You know, Rick, there's no telling. Everything looks fresh here on your screen, race fans, but let me tell you something. There's been so much rain here, maybe some water got down in his air cleaner.
Anything can happen, certainly. Brad McMillan on pit road. He's been able to get a word with Justin Hobgood's crew chief.
We're here with Mike Leitner, crew chief for Jake Hobgood. He was slow getting off the line. What's the story?
Well, I had a battery go dead on us. We had to push him off. We have a backup battery just in case. We think we'll be all right for the race, though. Just getting off to a little late start. We ought to be good at the end.
I will keep an eye on him. He comes in third in points.
I like that.
A little confusion down there, Jake and Justin. That'll happen all day, but it was Justin Hobgood that needed the push to get going down there.
That's right, Rick. We'll apologize to all the race
There you
fans
go.
right now between Jake and Justin Hobgood.
Those are the two sons of the legendary Will Hobgood, who was a standout in this series for so many years, and both of his sons in the lineup here today. Your starting lineup, Robert Huffman has the pole. He's the points leader in car number 37, and Jake Hobgood lines up alongside in the Hobgood Racing 64. Brother Justin inside row 2 in the team car, the 65, and Zach Brewer, who's got a win this year in car number 31.
In row 3, Rick, Cam Strader, last year's champion. On his outside, Danny Bagwell. On row 4, Brian Lofton, car number 23, and on his outside, number 93, Randy Humphrey.
And we pick it up in row 5. Scott Weaver in the deuce has the inside starting spot. The 0-2 of Kelly Sutton, one of the two female competitors in the field. 6th row, Chuck Gaffrar. We talked about him earlier in the 52. Just picked up that ride this weekend. And Alan Powell in car number 77, replacing Billy Bigley.
Row 7 on the inside, car number 17 of Mike Watts. Hope he has a lot of Watts this week. Row 8, Arlene Pittman and Wayne Morrow on his outside.
9th row, the 11 car. Brandon Ward will start on the inside from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Wayne Edwards, one of the veterans of this tour in the 75. That's a Toyota. And in row 10, Dean Combs is back, 5-time series champion, just making a spot start here in car number 4. And Ned Combs in car number 9 out of Newton, North Carolina.
Row 11, car number 33, Johnny Chapman on his outside. Number 1, Scott Kraling. That's a good number. Row 12 on the inside, number 47, Greg Miller. On his outside, number 20, Vince Whitmire.
And starting in the final row, Dion Cicerelli from Maryland in car number 0. And Maxie Bush in the 28. He's from Conestee, South Carolina, the Napa Filters Mercury. So that's your starting lineup. 26 cars lined up according to points. Kenny Wallace, a safety car, heads in. Here we go.
And it's excitement time right now, race fans. Here we go on this big old mile-and-a-half track, new Kentucky Speedway.
Speed strip up top. We'll show you the running order as we go green coming to the line. Huffman in that 37, the White House Apple Juice factory-backed Toyota, grabs just a tick of a lead over Jake Hobgood as they haul down into 1.
Wow, look at this. This is what racing's all about at this racetrack. Side by side as you enter turn 1, you can see the distinctive real black groove on this newly paved Kentucky racetrack. I said new racetrack. I meant newly paved racetrack. Wow, look at this, Rick. They're trying to make it 3 wide. They're 3 wide. There we go.
And trouble for the 93 car. Randy Humphrey off the pace as they head down the backstretch the first time. So Humphrey, who started back in the field, not able to get up to speed. Here's Huffman by half a car length over Jake Hobgood out of 4.
Now these cars, since they're so small, these are V6 motors with 2-barrel carburetors. Drafting is huge. As you see the black car go to the inside and take advantage of that draft.
And Zach Brewer in the 31 looking for the lead down into turn 1.
Wow, look at that.
But Huffman in the middle of the racetrack is able to get by.
Huffman got into Jake Hobgood there, going into 1, just trying to barrel it down in the corner. This is great racing. Look at this.
Look at Chuck Gaffrar in that blue and white Pontiac, the 52, 3 wide at the bottom. He's trying to get up and run with the leaders right off the bat here.
But as they would say, he thought better of it, Rick.
Yeah, that's right. Decided he's got plenty of time to wait. Robert Huffman, Zach Brewer is second, coming through the sweeping D-shaped front straightaway here in Kentucky.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Zach Brewer got a really good start. Even though he started second row outside, he's right into second place. Here we are almost looking at 3 wide, getting into turn 1. Nice banking. Cars really roll through that corner really fast.
Lots of action everywhere. Your leader continues to be Robert Huffman, starting to stretch it out single file. Brewer's second. Looking at third place, belonging to the 65 car of Justin Hobgood. Now up top, as you look at the speed strip, you may see a couple of names that you didn't see in the starting lineup. Some late driver changes. Alan Powell now is in the 77 car instead of Billy Bigley. And Dean Combs driving the 4 instead of its regular driver, Eric Wilson. Wilson works on Ricky Craven's Winston Cup crew, so when this race was rained out and postponed to Sunday, he had to head up to Michigan, where the Winston Cup cars are in action today.
Now, Rick, this is almost a 9-car breakaway.
Yep.
And the reason that is because these guys, let's say they're not really content running single file, but when you start that aerodynamic balance, but at the end of draft, they're leaving.
Well, Robert Huffman is showing the way in the early going. 100 miles of Goody's Dash Series racing coming your way today here on Speed. Welcome back on Speed Channel. Coverage of the NASCAR Goodies Dash Series, part of Racing Across America. Glad to have you with us. With Kenny Wallace, I'm Rick Benjamin. Leaders down into turn 1 here in Kentucky. Kenny, that Toyota Robert Huffman really strong here.
He is really strong. As you look at Chuck Farr and car number 2 of Scott Weaver right now, they're trying to keep up with the lead pack. Yeah, you know, what the deal is with Robert Huffman, some of the series right now is upset because he's got Toyota backing from the factory. Actually, the story is that Toyota might go into the truck series next year, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. But, you know, these guys have got to race him, whether he's got, you know, factory backing or not. I mean, this series is incredible with or without Huffman right now. As you can see right here, the 52 Gaffar and the number 2 of Scott Weaver, they're putting on a heck of a battle as they go into turn 1.
Weaver able to get by and take 7th. He boots Gaffar back to 8th spot. Sitting 9th there in that 02 car, Kelly Sutton. They call her Kelly Girl. Very interesting story. We'll try to tell you more about her a little later on. She suffers from multiple sclerosis. She has it under control with the help of some medication, and she's able to compete here at Kentucky Speedway. Back up in front. Great battle for second. Hobgood and Brewer side by side. They're all trying to keep in the draft here behind Robert Huffman.
You know, even though this is a 1.5-mile racetrack, they're running it almost like they would Daytona and Talladega. Handling is big here. It's big, but also the straightaways are so long. V6 motors, only a 2-barrel carburetor. So as you can see, if you get out of the draft, even coming off the corners, it really is big. As you can see, these cars back there, you got like a 6-car breakaway now.
Can't afford to give up the momentum here, I'm sure.
That's exactly right. Thank you. You grabbed the words right out of my mouth. I was needing somebody to bail me out there,
I'll reach
Rick.
back and put him back in there. How's
That's
that?
exactly what I was trying to say. Momentum is big, even though it doesn't race like Daytona or Talladega. You really got to keep that momentum, and if you ruin it all, it really ruins your chances of staying in that spot.
Oh, contact there.
Wow, look at that. I tell you what, Jake Hopgood run up there right now to Zach Brewer and said, I want this spot, and give him a little nerf. Man, what a good job, Zach Brewer, though, getting in there. He's taking some chances, I can tell you that. He fans off Cam Strader.
Got another look at it for you here as they come through the trial. Well, watch Hobgood's car. Shoulders him aside a little bit.
You know what, I tell you what, Cam Strader was right underneath him. Could have made him a little loose, going through that travel, shove him up into 31, because when you really watch his wheels, it's not like he turned right to turn up into him. Sometimes the air can really lighten your car up and move it for you.
There's the 64. That's Jake Hobgood, second in points, but without a win so far this year. He's sitting back there in 4th spot. Racetrack here is just beautiful, Kenny. You talked about the drive that Kentucky Speedway is putting on to try to get a Winston Cup date sometime in the future. They've gone through a lot of paving problems. We talked to Robert Huffman earlier about the revised track surface this time around.
It's really made it a lot smoother. I think you have to change your shock package. You know, we come up here with a different setup than we had last year, trying to remember the bumps and the roughness of it, and it's a lot smoother. So we had to change our game plan with our shock package and spring deal a little bit. It's a lot better.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment of the racetrack. You know, I just got done running 9th. You know, the Busch Grand National Series race went really good. Real wide. I mean, almost look at the cars. They almost look miniature out there. Here's Kelly Girl Sutton, the 02 car. That's a great story, as you talked about earlier.
She'll sit in 9th spot for the time being, kind of running by herself there in a Pontiac. Pontiac was the dominant brand in this series for so long. Started to talk about Toyota and the Toyota racing development effort. They've got 4 cars in the field. They've really become the dominant package here right now.
But you know what? That's the way it goes in every sport. I mean, just when Ford is big somewhere, here's the number 1, Scott Kraling, running really strong.
It's one of the Celicas we were talking about, one of the 4 in the field today. He's out of Florida.
Right. You know, and just because you got a Toyota Celica this year doesn't mean that you've got an advantage. Next year it might be Pontiac. Look at this race going on into turn 3.
Strader, the defending series champion in the 6, trying to pick up a spot. He's working on Zach Brewer, and he's got the low side here.
Look, I love this Zach Brewer. Look at him. He's doing an Earnhardt deal. He's taking his left front, trying to keep it on his right rear, but Cam Strader got the spot.
Strader 5th in points, hasn't yet been to victory lane this season. As the defending champion, Kenny, that's got to be frustrating for Strader.
Well, it does, you know, because what happens as a competitor, you think you're the man. You think nobody is better than you, and that's the type of attitude you have to have. So I mean, he's sitting there 5th in the points. You know, hasn't won a race yet, so I mean, it's kind of offsetting penalties. At least, you know, the cat's up in there and he's competing. He could be back in 12th, load up every week. So, but that's not the way you think. I mean, I know I'm a winner, and every time I go to the racetrack, if I run outside the top 10, I'm miserable. This guy's not miserable, though, right now. Robert Huffman, he's checked out.
Huffman just adding to his lead in the 37 car. One of the Toyotas started on the pole. He's led all the way so far, but it's still early at Kentucky Speedway. We'll be back. Welcome back to Kentucky Speedway in Sparta, Kentucky. Coverage of the NASCAR Goodies Dash Series here on Speed. The 700 WLW 100-miler, 6th race of the season for these Goodies Dash Series cars. Watching Cam Strader trying to get close to the front, the defending champion. That's the white car, the number 6 on the left of your screen. He's got Zach Brewer in tow right behind him. The Hobgood brothers running close together now. The black 65 car, Justin Hobgood, Jake right behind him in the 64. Everybody trying to get within hailing distance of Robert Huffman and Kenny Wallace in this race, which might be run maybe without a pit stop for these cars. I'm wondering, what do you do to track down Huffman when he's so quick?
You know what? That's perfect. You set me up perfect, because you do what these brothers are doing right now. 64 and 65, the car numbers. You get in line. You don't try to pass each other. And that, matter of fact, that four of those cars just get in line, get in a big aerodynamic tow and just running down, and they can do it.
There's Chuck Gaffrar in the 52 car in that blue and white Pontiac. He's trying to work his way up in the top 6 or 7 cars.
You know, we started to talk about Chuck earlier. Chuck was a winning go-kart racer years ago. I mean, and he's still a great race car driver. This kid can make a lot of moves on his own. He hasn't had nobody really help him out in his career. I'm really proud of him. He started out struggling a little bit, trying to get a ride, but he's really shown his self-worth here. Look at him tuck into the toe of that number 2 right now. You know, he could have tried to make a move on him quick, but he lined up perfectly behind him, you know, to run in on him. I guess what I'm trying to say about Chuck is nobody's really said, okay, here you go. Here's the Busch Grand National car, go racing.
Yeah.
He's struggling. You know, he come to the racetrack, you know, a little embarrassing, you know, got his helmet, you know, got his uniform. Man, I'd like to get a ride. And lo and behold, looky here. He's got a ride. So the kid has got sure determination. He gave up his job at Penske Racing to go get married down in Daytona because he wanted to run the race. So there's a little bit more of a story here to a lot of race car drivers than people think. So Chuck is really earning his stripes on his own.
Gaffrar tucked in there in 8th spot behind Scott Weaver in that Deuce, that red car with the black roof, running in 7th. Right behind him, another good story, the 33, Johnny Chapman, former series champion. In fact, Chapman, I believe, has one career Busch Series victory several years ago. Chapman used to have that White House sponsorship from the apple juice applesauce maker, and now he's trying to rebuild his effort here in that white number 33.
You know, isn't that something about the way racing has gone? This year has been the biggest year of study of race car driver. You're talking about Johnny Chapman. I remember that Busch Grand National race he won. It was a big race, and he won it. He's sitting there, you would think, okay, he's running 8th or 9th in this race. What kind of driver is he? Well, I can tell you what, we never would have thought in a million years Jimmy Johnson, after finishing 7th, 8th in the Busch points, that he would be winning all the Winston Cup races. So what my point here is, don't ever judge a race car driver on this racetrack, because you don't know how good his car is. You don't know what his chemistry is. There's guys running 8th or 9th in this series that might go over to win a Winston Cup race.
Huffman in the 37, schooling everybody here in the first 17 laps, 50 to go. First car out of the race, the 93, Randy Humphrey from Cornelius, North Carolina. He's back in the garage area with Brett.
Well, Randy Humphrey, this is not where you're supposed to be early in the race. What happened?
Well, we had a really good car today. I think we had a good shot. This was the car we saw on the outside pole with at Charlotte. Shifted in 3rd gear, took off, and the clutch went out of it. It's just a tough break. These guys worked really hard, and we're glad to be a part of this. We were really good in the points and had a chance to move up 2 or 3 spots today, and kind of done for us, but we're going to try to get back out if possible. We appreciate the opportunity to come here. It's a great place, great facility.
Rough break for the guy who came into the day 8th place in points.
So Randy Humphrey, not where he wants to be, Kenny Wallace.
No, you know, and I can feel for him because, you know, he's sitting there, what is he? Randy Humphrey, 8th in the points right now, and, you know, no matter where he would have finished today, it's a lot better than sitting in the pit area with, you know, a broken clutch.
Now this is a battle for 11th spot. Kelly Sutton in the 02. She's a Rookie of the Year contender. Brandon Ward in that black number 11 right behind her, also a Rookie of the Year candidate. Magclip, the sponsor of the Rookie of the Year award in the NASCAR Goodies Dash Series. So a little extra incentive for these 2 drivers as they race here at Kentucky.
Everybody has their own race. Look at Kelly, how she slides up in the middle of the corner. I mean, that's really cool with these bias ply tires. These drivers can get away with that, but Yeah, you know, all over the racetrack, you have races within races. You know, obviously they're not getting to the leader quite yet, you know, as we're only so many laps into the race early, and so they got their own race going on right now. But they're doing smart. You know, they're staying in line. You know, one thing Harry Gant always taught me, we're not racing each other right here for 10th and 11th. We're racing the stopwatch because we need to catch that leader. We don't want him lapping us. So they're staying in line, and that's what they need to do.
Kelly Sutton has the advantage in this battle right now, but the overall advantage, well, look at this. Robert Huffman's lead, and they're chipping away at it. Justin Hobgood's just about 3 car lengths back now as they hit turn 3.
Well, by God, maybe this is slow up that Toyota talk. We got a Pontiac catching a Toyota.
And we'll see how it plays out. We're at Kentucky Speedway. Work goes on the Randy Humphries car. We'll be right back.
This Speed Channel presentation brought to you by Conseco, helping meet America's financial needs. Conseco, step up.
Back with you on Speed Channel, the NASCAR Goodies Dash Series, the 700 WLW 100 at Kentucky Speedway. With Kenny Wallace, I'm Rick Benjamin, Brett McMillan on pit road. We roll on under green, everyone chasing Robert Huffman. But Kenny, right before the break, we noticed some of the drivers were hooking up and closing in on the 2 Hobgood cars particularly. Meantime, here's Johnny Chapman now. He's gotten around Weaver in the 2 car. He's also gotten around Kelly Sutton. So Johnny Chapman's starting to rumble toward the front here.
Yeah, you can only draft so long, but, you know, when you get in that line and somebody's so much slower than you, you got to move. So, you know, Johnny passed a lot of cars in a little amount of laps, so he looks really fast.
45 remaining. That white car is the 9 of Ned Combs, 57 years young. He's moved into 12th spot. Kenny Wallace up from 20th, and here he is challenging Kelly Sutton here for 11th.
Yep, that's where you're cornering good. Use a little bit of drafting, tucked on the inside, and looks like the 11 of Brandon Ward's going to follow him off into turn 1.
So Ned Combs gains another spot, moving by Sutton.
I get a big kick out of these cars, how sometimes they'll just slide, but they don't break loose. I'd love to do that in our Busch Grand National and Winston Cup cars, but with those radial tires, as soon as our cars start to slide, they break loose. So looks like they're having a lot of fun out there today. As soon as their cars start to break loose, they just slide on out. They just stay in the gas.
A lot of drivers say they'd love to go back to bias plies because of that.
Oh, yeah, you can drive the race cars a lot better. The driver really comes into it and inserts different grooves out. Right now, in the Busch, Cup, or truck, if the car's not handling properly, it's hard to pick out different grooves because the radial tires are less forgiving. Here's your leaders. Robert Huffman leading, number 65 of Justin Hobgood. And I'm going to tell you what, this is a fierce battle right now because they come down the front straightaway. There's the other brother in the background.
Jake in the 64, he's up into 3rd spot, and they're kind of ganging up on Huffman here. If you're Huffman now, you don't like to see that behind you.
No, because I'll tell you what, if the 65 pulls out the passion, you know his brother's going to push him on by you. But, hey, you know, let's look at it. They are racing for top 4 spots here. It's not like he's going to get left out and go to 12th.
We're a third of the way home. Cam Strader is up in 4th spot. Let's get an update on the Toyota efforts of Robert Huffman. Brett McMillan on pit road with more on that.
Yeah, Rick, when Robert Huffman has a race like this, the debate begins all over again. The debate about Toyota. They say Toyota's getting something that nobody else is getting, especially with the rumored entrance of Toyota into the truck series in the near future. Well, Huffman is quick to point out, look, yes, I've won 38 races, but 31 of them have come in other car makes, and all 4 of his series championships have also been in cars other than Toyotas.
So, Kenny, what do you think of that? Does Toyota have an unfair advantage in this series, or is that just too much talk?
Well, great move by Chuck Farrar getting into turn 1 there. But, no, I do not think Toyota's got an unfair advantage. You got to look at other things that happened in the sport. You got to look at Winston Cup and go, okay, Chevrolets are running not that great this year. Well, then you got to look at Jimmy Johnson. Why is he a standout Chevrolet? I think, first of all, you got a great organization who got a great deal with Toyota. So, I mean, you just can't say that, you know, this guy has never won before, so now he's winning because he's got a good car make. So, I mean, you know, I can remember the year that my brother Rusty won 10 races, and everybody else was sucking in a Pontiac, you know. So NASCAR said, look, we can't give you no concessions because Rusty's winning a lot of races. Well, it's not so much Rusty. It was, you know, Team Blue Max Racing with Raymond Beadle or Penske Racing. Good organizations.
And Huffman certainly has one in the Goodies Dash Series. He continues to lead, but the Hobgood brothers are chasing him down. We'll be back. Back at Kentucky on speed, watching Robert Huffman continue to lead. And boy, the Hobgoods, Kenny Wallace, they're just working him over here, trying to get around him. Meantime, Gaffrar dives to the inside, and 3 just makes a move to get by. It opens up a lot of room on Scott Weaver.
Well, I tell you what, though, Rick, that's the great thing about that racetrack. If you would have went high like that at any other racetrack, the guy would have been in the marbles up at the wall. So, wow, look at this. You were talking. This is the Robert Huffman, Justin Hobgood, Jake Hobgood. I mean, they're doing the dance. Look at them. This is a great race right now. That's your top 3. Trawl trying to get the top spot away from the number 37 car.
Right behind him in 4th is the defending series champ Cam Strader in that white number 6. You can get a glimpse of his fenders. He's not really up in the draft here. Kenny, how long is the draft at a place like Kentucky? How far up do you need to be on the car in front of you?
Wow, look at this lap car getting the inside of Justin. Wow, he about run him up into the wall there. And, you know, you can catch this draft, I would say, with these type of race cars, about 10 cars back. And the only reason I say that far back is because they're only V6 motors with 2-barrel carburetors. You really have got to be effective here. You got to have some type of horsepower to get you up there. Look at this. These lap cars are playing part of havoc right now. Let's see if they split this guy 3 wide.
Maxie Bush there in the 28 car, and Huffman used him, I think, to kind of pick off the Hobgoods. And look at the lead he's built now.
Now, that's exactly what I was talking about, drafting. Okay, now the brothers don't mean to be side by side here, but now look at that leader. They were all over the leader, Robert Huffman, trying to pass him, but the lap cars are playing havoc with Justin and Jake right now and Cam Strader. Now your leader is gone. Now he's almost got a half a straightaway lead, it looks like.
And I'm surprised that Maxie Bush hasn't gotten the indication over the radio to back off and get out of the way and let the leaders through here.
Yeah, this is a little dangerous right here because, I mean, hey, they're running 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. It's not like they're running back in 20th position. They're just, now look at the number 65 car of Justin Hobgood. He's waving to Cam Strader. Thanks a lot. His hand was up in there. Now look, Cam ducks back in behind the 64. They're trying to get in line. They're saying, get in line. Let's run the leader back down. Well, remember, like Harry Gant used to say, we're racing the leader, not each other. We're racing the stopwatch. You know, there's 36 laps to go.
Now we're just about to halfway. Now that lap car, Maxie Bush's 28 car, trying to stay on the same lap with these machines. Now he's up out of the groove, so the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place cars should be able to get by here. But boy, they've got a long way to go to catch back up to Huffman.
Rick, isn't that something? I mean, look what Robert Huffman done there in just a period of 3 laps. And what was aggravating was I know that Maxie Bush is a great driver and hold them off, but he had already lost the lead lap to that car right there. So once you lose the lead lap, you cannot hold the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place up. When the caution flag falls, what you're hoping for is the leader to slow up so you can get your lap back. So once you've lost that lead lap to the leader, don't hold everybody up, you know, and don't just move over and slow your own pace up. Do it nicely so you keep your momentum up. So, you know, there's Ned Combs right now as he goes into turn 3. And he's trying to chase down Chuck Gaffar. What a story, Chuck Gaffar. I mean, come here with just his uniform and his helmet, and he's running great, Rick.
Take a look at the running order, top of your screen, coming up on halfway next time by. Huffman is still the leader. The Hobgoods run 2nd and 3rd. Then it's Strader. Zach Brewer holds 5th. Lofton is 6th, and Danny Bagwell 7th. And look at this battle. This is for 9th, 10th, and 11th spot. And here's Combs to the inside of Gaffrar for the position here.
I think Ned Combs just having a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, his car's just handling so good. You can see everybody else has to run in the middle of the racetrack. Ned just took it and put it right down on the bottom when he entered turn 1. Got the spot away. Now they run a little bit higher over there in 3 and 4. You know, sometimes running a little bit up with these V6 motors, 2-barrel carburetors, keeps the momentum going a little bit better. You know, you don't have to bind the car up that much.
From 20th to 8th in a Mercury is Combs. Meantime, the Toyota of Huffman continues to just put the hurt on everybody here. A moment ago, he was involved in a tight battle because the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place cars had drafted right up on the back decklet of the 37, but that lap car got in the way. Huffman very wisely used that car as a pick and built a huge lead. Everybody will need gas pretty darn soon. Getting into the second half of action at Kentucky. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Kentucky Speedway. Robert Huffman continues to lead the 700 WLW 100. Kenny Wallace, he's been out front just about all the way. Jake and Justin Hobgood, though, in the process of closing in on him once again.
You know what? These Hobgood boys are doing what they need to do, but I tell you what, I got to stop talking about it because look at this.
3 wide.
3 wide. Wow, what a race.
That's Kelly Sutton there in the 0-2. Scott Weaver in the deuce. Meantime, one car. This is Danny Bagwell in the Napa Fielders car. Behind the wall, the Sterling Casinos machine. He's out of Cordova, Alabama. And Johnny Chapman with problems as well. He had a good run going in the 33, and he heads behind the wall as well. Looks as though he is done for the night. The one car, driver
Scott Kraling.
Yeah, Kraling out of Naples, Florida, doing a nice job. He's come from the back of the pack to get up into the top 10.
Boy, Rick, they're running that high lane. You see that?
Yeah.
Almost up in the marbles.
The 11 car, Brandon Ward, right behind Kraling. 9th and 10th right now.
I tell you what, this racetrack is so wide for these race cars that when we think 3 wide's crazy,
yeah,
it's really not to them, you know?
Well, in a car that weighs less than 3,000 pounds, probably not as big a factor.
You're right, exactly. Now, you know, we were getting back to those leaders. Now, looky here. This is what you want. Now, that's a lap car, knows he's slow. You want to stay in single file, get a run on somebody, and pass him right at the last minute. Man, I love that. Look at that number 1 car. Scott Kraling, he just burning a new groove all by himself with that right rear. So this is what you got to look for as far as talent. You can't say, well, he's running, you know, towards the back of the pack. You got to look at what he's doing with that race car. He's running, you know, maybe he's not running the right groove, but he looks pretty impressive to me.
Well, listen, he's come from 22nd to 9th there in the first 37 laps tonight. Isn't it a case of going where the race car wants to work the best?
Yeah, are you telling me I picked talent out?
I think you're doing a great job picking the talent. Another car headed for pit road. This is Brian Lofton in the 23. He'll get fuel. Looks like they're going to do some work on the right side of the car as well.
Rick, this is what you talked about. They could be getting fuel, but I don't know. Looks like they're going underneath the right rear. Something wrong here. We can't really tell what it is quite yet.
They're checking the tire, taking a look at it to see if there's damage. Now, under the rules for this race, no tire changes allowed unless you have a cut-down tire. This is a long pit stop as they take a look at the right side. The Nesquik machine down and away.
Okay, looked like I was studying that while you were talking. That right rear guy on his knees, he had a tire gauge, and he was obviously either he was letting some air out of that right rear tire. Since in this series they cannot change tires, only add fuel, so that's a great money saver. Keep these boys within their budget so they can afford to run the series.
Back up in front, Justin Hobgood in that black number 65. That's a Pontiac. He's about 6 or 7 car lengths behind the race leader, Robert Huffman, as we're in the second half here. The question, Kenny, I think, is when do these guys decide to come in for fuel? We've been caution-free so far.
Well, they got to stop for fuel because they cannot make it to the end. Here's the problem with this situation right now. If some of these guys go, okay, I'm going to pit now, and then when they're in the pits, the caution comes out. Here comes
Weaver.
number 2.
Yeah, Scott Weaver coming onto pit road.
He's making his pit stop. If I'm on the lead lap, I'm definitely going to wait for the top 5 guys to pit because I don't want to get caught a lap down, okay? That's my situation. So I always tell my crew chief, Rick Gay, on the Busch Grand National Series, I say, wait for the leaders to pit before we pit, if we can. Because now here we go. Okay, Cam Strader, Rick, just as you call it, everybody's pitting.
The Wesson Oil 6 car, the defending series champion, Strader running in 4th spot, deciding to come to pit road. Fuel, only 1 can of fuel, all they need to get these cars home in this 100-miler.
Yeah, now, what you want to do is we want to make sure Robert Huffman pits, okay? If we're running, if we're Danny Bagwell, if we're Brian Lofton, Randy Humphrey, all these guys, outside the top 5, top 6, we want these 3 guys to pit. Then we will pit, okay? But if we pit, these guys don't, boom, they got you down a lap. So, it's a touchy situation. I always say make the leaders pit first.
Well, some of the teams obviously figuring that they better get to pit road now. Fuel consumption, I would think, would be a little different depending on the brand of car you're using.
Rick, I totally agree with you. In most series where there's only 3 brands, we have 4 brands in this series. Chuck Gaffar getting his splash of gas and go. He's in there saying, come on, I want to go. They're doing a great job. They get the fuel in. Looks like he's off and away. Everything went smooth.
So Gaffar will come up through the gearbox and get that car back up to speed. Question mark here under green, can you get a can of fuel in this car and not go a lap down to the leaders? And that could be crucial. Some may not. 3 leaders down into turn 3. It's still Huffman out in front of the 37. The Hobgood boys in their Pontiacs next in line. Justin is second. Here's Zach Brewer in the 31, the Belterra Casinos car. He's on pit road for a tank full of gas, a can of gas.
Rick, what I agree with is what you just said. There's the 28 car.
Maxie Bush on pit road. Now, he was assessed a stop-and-go penalty. A couple of these guys we're hearing have already been penalized for being too fast on pit road. Here's Scott Weaver back for a second time. He's been penalized as well.
Wow. You know what? You set me up for the perfect scenario. Oh, no, the 02 car must be out of gas.
Yeah, Kelly Sutton needing a push. Something dragging behind the car there as well.
Yeah, one of the crew members, their radio fell off the side, and they're dragging their radio. Wow. Look at this. Everybody out of gas.
Yeah, Arlene Pittman from Vidalia, Georgia, the second female driver in the field today. She apparently ran that car out of fuel. So everybody trying to stretch the fuel window here. They're headed behind the wall. It appears there's a problem with the 7. That's a tough break.
Well, Rick, you know, the biggest problem right now is putting gas in the car is easy. You can get that in there quick, but it's that big, long trip down pit road and making sure you're staying at pit road speed. Boy, that's what takes all the time. Pit road speed all the way down pit road, and those guys are getting caught speeding.
Kelly Sutton headed back onto the racetrack after they got her car refired. Fuel in that car again. Cam Strader was running fourth. He's gone a lap down on pit road. 3 leaders haven't stopped yet. We'll be back at Kentucky. Back at Kentucky Speedway, coverage of the NASCAR Goodies Dash Series here on Speed. 3 leaders still in a tight draft. And Kenny, as the laps start to wind down here, if you're one of the Hobgoods, when do you make a move on Huffman, or do you just wait through the pit stop cycle and then plan out your strategy?
I think you got to make, now looky here, they're starting to make a move on him. What, did you know what was going to happen here, Rick? My God.
No.
This is it. This is big.
22 laps to go. The Hobgoods hook up in the draft, and they start on by. Justin in the 65 is your new leader, first time today. And there goes Jake to second.
22 laps to go, and we finally get a change for the lead. But now I'll tell you what, let's watch and see what's happening here. I think Huffman's going to pit for gas. It would only make sense. He gave up the lead so easily. He's chopping the corner into turn 3, looking like he's slowing up. Maybe he's spitting gas. We've seen a lot of people running out of gas already. Now the Hobgoods, there you go. 65, 64, the brothers are in command.
Remember that Justin Hobgood is the only of the brothers to win so far this year. And there you go, Kenny, as you predicted. Robert Huffman brings the 37 onto pit road, defending winner here at Kentucky.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense right here. You see Robert Huffman, it didn't make sense. He just comes off the corner and gives the lead up.
Watching the tachometer, make sure you don't speed on pit road. Here comes Huffman. Brett McMillan's there.
And for the first time today, the lead given up by Robert Huffman comes in for his fuel-only stop. They're not allowed to change tires. 4.3 seconds for Robert Huffman. He's away.
Now, can he get a full can of gas in 4.3 seconds, Kenny?
Well, I think what he needed, you know, we only got about 20 laps to go. No, it takes about 6 seconds to get a full can of gas. I think he got in just what he needed to go. Remember, 67-lap race. He's gone all the way this way, so he doesn't need a full can of gas. Isn't this something?
Yeah.
Look at these brothers, 64, 65. Ooh,
oh,
wow.
Close call there.
Oh, no, he's over the line. There's no, he's got to back it up. That's big. See the official? Wow.
Now, Gary Moore in the 00 car from Horseshoe, North Carolina, nearly got into Hobgood, so that caused some of the confusion. Hobgood is away.
I think the big thing here is, Rick, is how much time he lost in the pits.
Yeah.
Look, they came in together, and look at the big difference now.
Jake Hobgood got away much more cleanly and much more quickly.
Right, exactly. Car number 1 is Scott Kraling. Looks like he's getting ready to come into pit. Wow, the number 4, that's Dean Combs, just misses him.
This is one of the Toyota Celicas in the field. Kraling has made a nice run, started back in 22nd spot. He had gotten up into the top 10 in this machine.
Now they got to watch that pit road speed when they come off. They got to get slowed up at the first white line. There's an orange cone there that tells the driver to start slowing up at that orange cone. Nice, get a little bit of dirt off there so that the air can get in and make the radiator and the water cool. Get all the debris off the front grille, and he's off and running. Nice, clean stop.
So Kraling will get back up to speed and things will settle out. The pit stop cycle has finally happened for the leaders. Getting down to business here at Kentucky Speedway. We'll be back. Back at Kentucky Speedway, action down into turn 1, and after the pit stop sequence, Jake Hobgood is indeed in trouble. Somebody spins up toward the wall. Brian Lofton in car number 23 got loose going up into the corner. Kenny, he has pounded the wall, a hard shot.
Wow, I hope he's okay. I hope he's all right. I'm sure he is. We're looking for the window net to come down. That's what they tell us in our driver meetings, race fans. As soon as that window net comes down, that means, hey, I'm okay. So let's keep an eye on that. You know, he took a pretty hard lick. That's water out of the radiator, out of the left front. I see him moving around in there, Rick.
Good news that Lofton is moving around in the car. And Kenny, that must have been a violent spin. There was enough disruption of the airflow to kick the roof flap up on the car.
Yeah, the roof flaps did their job. But I'm going to tell you something. Now that, he's okay as winning at it's down. Looks like he's waiting for all the cars to get around him. He's unhooking his belts. But, let's get back to the competitive standpoint now that he is okay. The caution fell about 2 laps after all these pit stops. So, Cam Strader was down a lap, and then all the leaders made their pit stops, so then he was back on the lead lap. So if this would have happened 3 to 4 laps earlier, it could have been big in the scoring,
Well, we'll see if this will produce any changes. Any teams that did not come to pit road, they've got a perfect opportunity now. That Nesquik machine pretty badly rumpled.
Well, I hate it for him.
Let's show you how this happened. Down into turn 1. And there he is up in the middle of the racetrack.
There's really no clear indication what happened. I mean, we got to always give the driver the benefit that, A, something happened, or, he's simply, okay, here's another view.
Watching Hobgood, and then you saw the 23 just get loose.
Yeah, we just don't have no indication. I mean, it looks, there's the right rear tire. It's up. We can't really see the left rear, but obviously.
One more look here. Look up at the top of your screen, you see the smoke. He spun right in the middle of the corner. I think that's what happened, Kenny.
Yeah, I think, it's, Rick, I hate to laugh, but, I'm a driver. You just don't want to say, he just lost it. But obviously that's what happened. Now, wow, this is big. Coming back in.
Robert Huffman comes in. Maybe some debris on the track. They're going to change the right rear tire, and there has to be damage to the tire to allow for that.
This is pretty big right here, Rick, because I know the rule now. When they take that right rear tire off, they got to give it to that official. They're going to be big. Them officials want to see that right rear tire. And if they don't deem that there's damage done to it, there could be a penalty. So let's keep an eye on this. There we go. The official's looking at it. Both of them.
So Huffman gets a new right rear tire in the exchange, and there's the driver that wrecked so hard to bring out our first caution, young Brian Lofton, out of Lexington, North Carolina. The Nesquik Pontiac. The car's going to need a lot of work before it's ready for the next Goodies Dash Series event. But he's walking to the ambulance. He'll take the quick ride to the infield care center, as always, in a NASCAR event. Track crew there with a lot of speedy dry down. The cleanup's going to take a while. Here at Kentucky Speedway, we've got a rollback out for the 23 car.
Yeah, NASCAR wants to always look at that helmet and the restraint device. They want to look at it. You see one of the corner workers taking it off. NASCAR is going to make sure everything held up to safety so we can learn from these wrecks.
50 laps of 67 on the board, getting down to the finish here at Kentucky, and Jake Hobgood will be the restart leader. We're back at Kentucky Speedway. Coverage of the NASCAR Goodies Dash Series here on Speed. NASCAR racing across America under caution for the first time this afternoon because of that spin and that hard wreck up in turn 1, featuring the number 23 machine, Brian Lofton, out of Lexington, North Carolina. And Kenny, it's going to take them a while to clean this up. Debris, water, and of course now speedy dry on the track, so they're going to lead the field down onto the exit road that runs around the inside of the racetrack, down onto the apron there, and let everybody get by the work that's going on. They've got the jet dryer out to blow what's remaining off the racetrack to make for safe racing conditions. How about this? Robert Huffman back on pit road.
You know what? Now he's changing the right front. I don't understand this. Obviously, he's going to go to the tail end of the lead lap cars, but he must have run through something. But, you would think this would be a big advantage for him to have new right side tires put on.
Especially with bias plies, you'd think that fresh rubber for the last 20 laps or so would be a real help.
Yeah, you sure would. There's the NASCAR officials you could see talking on the radio, so they'll look at those 2 tires. He might have got through some debris, but there he is, Robert Huffman, the guy that has led all the laps going out. You can hear them little V6 motors, can't you? Just whining. There's what do they call him? Jake the Brake? I think it needs to be something like Jungling Jake or something. Jake the Brake means you're putting on the brake, Jake. Tell him to change your nickname.
He's not using it much here today, that's for sure.
No.
Lofton's car going up on the rollback here, and Huffman, the winner of 3 of the first 5 Goodies Dash Series rounds in 2002, going for 4 and 6, but he'll have his work cut out for him. Brad McMillan, he's going to have to start back in 10th spot at the end of the lead lap line of cars. What's that tire situation?
Yeah, Rick, here are the tires that just came off of Robert Huffman's car. This is the right rear. It's the one they took off first. You can see how badly blistered it is. So they went ahead and brought him in and took off the right front too. You can see that this one was having problems as well. They're only allowed to change tires if they're having a tire problem. Clearly he was. Now the question is, can he make his way back through the pack?
Well, he'll have only about 15 laps or so to do it. This has taken a while to get the 23 car up on the rollback, so Kenny may have fewer than 15 laps to go when the green reappears.
I have to tell you, that's big, and I am mighty surprised by that. Those are some really hard tires, but you know what? If you slide the tires a lot and create a lot of heat, that's what we call blistering, and then it's only a matter of time before the whole tire comes apart.
Well, the leader's certainly hoping they don't run into tire problems, as Robert Huffman has. Jake Hobgood starting on the pole. Justin will restart third. We talked to Jake earlier about just how competitive the two brothers are here in the NASCAR Goody Dash Series and what it's like to race against someone you grew up with.
We've been pretty equal. You know, Justin's got one win this year, and I was leading that race on the last lap, so just, you know, he got by me and got the win, and we just compete really hard every week.
I get the impression respecting your elders doesn't come into play.
No, not at all.
Wow, I think that's pretty interesting. You know, that's a hard balance. You know, I've got two brothers, and thank God I haven't created no rivalry with them. But, you know, they call that a sibling rivalry. But it's pretty neat that these guys are able to race for the win every week. That's hard to come by in a family.
Well, as you heard, Jake Hobgood certainly very hungry for victory here today at Kentucky. Thought he had one wrapped up earlier. Brad McMillan with his crew chief on their efforts today.
Here with Ernie Black, crew chief for Jake Hobgood, and you guys have had one bad break after another this year in trying to win races. When Huffman comes in with that tire going down, you may have just gotten the break of the year.
Yeah, maybe. Rob's still tough. Now, he'll come back through the pack pretty quick, I'm afraid, but I think we can hold him off, hopefully.
Your guys made a couple of runs at him, but could never get by him until then. Has he got enough for him to hold off everybody else now?
I think so. We'll just have to wait and see.
How about his brother? What kind of factor he's going to be?
Dut's having a battery problem right now. The alternator, Justin is his name, but anyway, he's having a low voltage problem, and hopefully the car just hang on to the end.
But you feel pretty good about your chances, huh?
Yeah, sure do right now. Just have to wait and see.
Now, a regulator problem or an alternator problem, Kenny, what does that mean when you try to get back up to speed?
Well, what that means is the battery, just like your passenger car, doesn't have no voltage, amperage. You know, both of those together, they're both a little bit different, but, you know, it's not feeding the proper amount of fire to the ignition system, so the car's going to sputter a little bit. You know, he might not make it till the end, but the best thing he's got going for him is that there's not that many laps left, so he just needs to cross his fingers, and hopefully he'll just get like a top 10 out of it.
Getting ready to restart shortly here. We told you earlier, two female drivers in the field, one of them Kelly Sutton. She's got quite a story to tell. She has battled back from some incredible adversity. In a way, it's no surprise that Kelly Sutton chose to go racing in the Goody's Dash Series, a league long thought of as being friendly to women drivers. But for the one they call Kelly Girl, driving in this male-dominated sport is no issue at all. This young lady has leaped much larger hurdles in her young driving career.
When I was about 5 years old, I started turning wrenches with my dad on his race car. And I knew at a very young age that I wanted to be just like him. When I was 12 years old, he put me in some go-karts, and we raced a little bit of go-karts. And then I had my first race car when I was 15 years old. And unfortunately, I started to get sick. By the time I was 16, I was diagnosed with MS. And it was like my life had ended. So my racing career just came to a dead halt.
Kelly spent the next couple of years learning to live with multiple sclerosis, but she never lost her desire to go racing, just like her dad and her grandfather before her. At 19, she did race once again and now has a successful dash program, thanks to her family and a drug called Copaxone.
Team Copaxone came aboard, and they wanted me to fulfill a dream. Copaxone is the medication that I take for my MS. So having Team Copaxone as my sponsor has really brought my MS and racing together.
Along with the medication, Kelly follows a stringent workout and diet regimen, and she also shares her story with other MS patients and support groups.
Well, I hope to give people inspiration and let them know that life doesn't end with a diagnosis of MS, and we're very fortunate today to have the therapies available.
Kelly knows how fortunate she is to be going racing in an elite series like the Goody's Dash Tour for a lot of different reasons, and she's proud to be called Kelly Girl. All she really wants is to be treated just like the other guys. As far as her goals for this season, she says she'd really like to win a race before the year's over and take Rookie of the Year honors.
Winning Rookie of the Year is a tremendous honor to have, and I'd like to have that to be able to put up on my shelf, and not only hurdling MS, but being able to accomplish a goal running for Rookie of the Year.
Very impressive young lady, Kenny Wallace. What a battle to get on the racetrack.
Wow, I'm going to tell you what, for anybody out there that's hardcore right now and is mad because they run first or second and third in their last 3 races, that right there will put you in your spot.
We will be back with more at Kentucky Speedway. Back at Kentucky Speedway here on Speed, coverage of the NASCAR Goodies Dash Series. I'm Rick Benjamin with Kenny Wallace. Brett McMillan's on pit road, getting close to the restart. Kenny, the Hobgood brothers, first and third for the restart. Last year's champion Cam Strader hasn't won yet, but he'll go from second spot here.
Hey, you can't stop talent. Cam Strader, rising to the top. Last year's champion. I mean, this guy can get it done. And right now with Huffman's problem, right now we had to have somebody in there, Rick, to separate these guys.
That's the 6 car, the white car there. And Kenny hasn't been really fast yet today, but he's been very patient, I think.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes guys peak at the end of the race. So, I mean, hey, he's in perfect position to win.
And Strader's certainly hoping for his first win because this has been a disappointing and frustrating year for him so far.
We've had our ups and downs. Last year, it seemed whatever we did, we couldn't do anything wrong. All the breaks kind of went our way. This year, it's a little bit different. We've had 2 races in a row where we had some DNFs, and that's kind of hurt us a little bit and put us behind in the points. We're 5th right now. We finished 5th at Charlotte last week. We kind of got our legs back under us now, and so we're making that charge back to defend our points championship this year.
Now, it's easy to understand why Strader would be disappointed with the way things have gone so far in 2002. At this time a year ago, he was already out in front in the points chase. He went on to collect 14 top 5s and 4 victories on the way to his first Goodies Dash championship.
In the sport of racing, you have to learn there's always a lot more downs than there is ups usually. And champion teams are the ones that can pull through those down times. And that's what our guys are doing. We've got a great bunch of guys. Billy Owen, my crew chief, he's behind us every week, just thinking of everything to do to get this team back on track, and I think we've got it there.
Well, we'll see if he's on track for a victory here, Kenny Wallace. Restart will come with less than 10 to go.
Yeah, I like that interview with Cam Strader, and I'll tell you why. Because what is disappointment? It's disappointment because you've only won 1 race this year. It's disappointment because you finished 6th and you weren't in the top 5. But I can tell you what, when you're a winner like he is or you're a winner like me, your disappointments are way up the list. Like if you haven't won a race or you haven't finished in the top 5. So, hey, I mean, that's the way, racing goes. I mean, always look for examples around yourself. You want to win every race, but you can't win them all. You look at Bobby Labonte in the Cup Series, won the championship a couple years ago. He's sitting down around 18th, 20th in the points. So you can look all over the sport of auto racing. So he'll be okay. He's digging. He's running good. He's 2nd today, but he's only 5th in the points. So he's got time to make the move for the championship still.
A lot of moves to be made here. There'll be 9 laps to go when they come around and take the green flag. 67 laps, 100 miles, the total distance here this afternoon at Kentucky Speedway. And Robert Huffman tucking in line, last car on the lead lap. So he'll restart 10th in that yellow number 37 car. Jake Hobgood will have the pole here for this final sprint to the checkers in the red 64. Strader 2nd, Justin Hobgood restarts 3rd. And Ned Combs up there in 4th spot. He has come a long way from 20th on the grid. Green flag in the air, and we're back underway.
That's your leader. They call him Jake the Brake Hobgood, but Jake, you can't be putting on no brake right now, baby. You're going into turn 1, on the restart, leading the race. Woo!
Strader tucks in right behind him. Top 2 cars start to pull away. Combs to 3rd.
Wow, look at old Ned. High, wide, and handsome, baby. Looking to get it done coming off of 2 at Kentucky.
57 years young, and he's got the hammer down.
High, wide, and handsome. Look at that. Scramble toward the back. We're looking for Huffman in the yellow car to make us move to the front, Rick. There he is, 3 wide, getting into 3.
He's on the bottom behind Zach Brewer. Moves inside the 65 of Hobgood, so he is backpedaling. Here comes Huffman.
Huffman's making it look like a video game, Rick. Look at him.
Nearly gets into Brewer there as they come to the tri-oval.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with the 31 car there. He likes to take that left front. He did it early in the race. He likes to tuck it down on the right rear of everybody. So maybe he's learned something from Dale Earnhardt in the draft or whatever, but he definitely makes it difficult on people. Hey, look, we're talking about Cam Strader. What a bad year he has. But I'll tell you what, with 8 to go, it don't look bad for him now. He's fighting for the lead.
In that first lap since the restart, Robert Huffman came from 10th to 5th. Meantime, back a little further, the 17 of Mike Watts from 13th. He's up to 8th. Running to the inside of Brandon Ward in the 11th spot. Kenny, haven't even seen that 17 car yet today.
Well, you know, like I said earlier, sometimes people peak at the right time. Champions peak at the end of the race. You know, I mean, sometimes this caution brings everybody together. They made some air pressure adjustments. Guys' cars are handling a little different. They've got them all cooled down. Look at there. He runs him a little bit high, but they're looking good.
Maybe you noticed in the speed strip up top, Justin Hobgood, who restarted third, he's backpedaled. Remember, we heard that they had an alternator problem, and I think he's got some power problems under the hood, definitely.
Boy, and I'll tell you what, I said he'd be lucky just to finish in the top 10. So, I mean, that's what he's looking for right now. His day is pretty much done as far as the win. But this is exciting right here.
Wow.
This is exciting.
Top two are nose to tail. Ned Combs in the 9 wants to join the fun. He is third in that baby blue machine.
This is what I like. Ned Combs, he was running 7th or 8th. Look at this. He's coming for the lead. Like I said, he's high, wide, and handsome. He's got a groove all by himself.
Jake Hobgood in the 64 continues to hold the point. Strader is second. And here's Ned Combs diving low into 3. Unable to make a move there. Thought he'd get up and maybe get around Strader. He's running a much different line in the corners. Meantime, let's find out about Justin Hobgood's situation down to Brett McMillan on pit road.
Well, Justin Hobgood's crew can only look on, helpless. The battery problem they've been having all day long is finally bitten them, and he's dropping like a rock through the field.
Boy, what a heartbreak to have everything go your way. You're in great shape, up to 10 laps to go, Kenny, and then you just can't hold the pace.
Right, and here's what's happening. It's like your body that needs food. That engine needs electricity, so to speak, and right now his motor's just going bop, 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 and, you know, that's what it's doing, race fans. You know, if you can't hear it on the TV, his motor's just not up to full song.
5 to go this time by. Top 3 remain the same. It's Jake Hobgood in the red 64 car. Cam Strader, last year's champion, in that white number 6. Here's Ned Combs to the inside, going for second spot now.
Wow, man, he tucked it down underneath Cam Strader. I mean, he drove it in hard. Now they're going to be side by side, and I bet, look at this. Here comes Huffman. He's gonna get a whiff off their draft. 2 cars side by side, that makes you slow. So Huffman says, I'll take advantage. I'll draft off of both of you. Look at this. Here comes Huffman.
Strader up high. That's not where you want to be. Huffman will point it low behind Ned Combs. Hobgood on the high side, able to stay out in front with 4 to go. Remember that Huffman's got new right side rubber on that 37.
Well, I bet Jake is saying, who's this on my inside right now? Ned Combs, this is a big story. Oh no, here comes Huffman with those brand new right side tires. Low, passes Combs.
Going for second spot, Huffman, the leader for much of the first 2/3 of the race. Had to make a couple of stops for tire problems. He's marched right back into contention here with 3 laps remaining. Huffman now to second, shuffling Combs back to third.
I'm going to tell you something because I just got done running this race. Huffman wiggled down there. If you come off of turn 4 and get down on that white line, it wiggled. He had to let out the gas. That's why Combs came back on him. His car wiggled pretty hard. And now look at this. Folks, it's 2 to go. This is incredible. Look at this.
Top 3 under a blanket. Hobgood's your leader. Huffman in the yellow car trying to hold on to second. Ned Combs all by himself. No drafting help. He's third. Strader's next. Gaffrar 5th in line in that blue and white car.
Woo, I'm out of breath. I feel like Ric Flair right now. Look at this. We got the 5th place car of Chuck Gaffrar coming back now. It's not even a fight for the lead. It's a fight for everything right now. Look at this.
Coming to the white flag. 1 to go.
Looks like Daytona Talladega. Look at Gaffrar
4
down
wide. Gaffrar to the inside of Strader. He'll get the spot. Combs back to third.
Wow, what do we say? We just watch now.
Top 2 remain Hobgood and now Huffman.
Huffman's thinking, how do I not have this lead? One more last shot, Rick, is to go down the back straightaway.
Into 3, final trip around here at Kentucky Speedway. Combs in that high line. Hobgood, Huffman, and Combs will settle this one amongst themselves. Huffman up high. Combs will help him. Now he'll slingshot to the bottom. They come to the stripe, and it'll be Jake Hobgood, the winner.
Woo!
Jake Hobgood holds off Robert Huffman at the stripe for his first win of the season.
What an incredible run. I mean, what did you expect us to do, race fans? Just sit here and be quiet? Man, oh man, what a race.
You know that Jake Hobgood is very excited inside that race car. We heard from him just a few moments ago about how frustrating it's been. Thought he had a victory in hand a few weeks back. Gave it up to his brother Justin. Now he gets his first win of the year. Driver who is second in points coming in. He defeats the point leader Robert Huffman, who, Kenny, if he hadn't had that tire problem, you have to think he'd have been very hard to catch today.
Yeah, you would. But let's take a look at this slap here. Here we go. Huffman trying to get on his inside. Look at him wiggling. Huffman's wiggly, coming high, but he doesn't. He's got the momentum, but just he's running out of time. Look at Ned Combs. That's the big story. That car that run third, that's the big story. I'll tell you what, though, let's give credit where credit's due to that man right there.
Yeah.
Jake is not on the break today. That's Jungling Jake Hobgood, race fans. Jake, next time you see me at the racetrack, come up and talk to me about your nickname, buddy. I know they gave you that name from somewhere. I got to hear why.
Waving to the fans here at Kentucky Speedway. He had the gas pedal through the firewall, not the brake today.
Yeah,
no doubt
exactly.
About it.
He's the man. There he is. Car number 64.
First win of the season in the 6th event of the 2002 Goodies Dash Series campaign. When we come back at Kentucky Speedway, we will talk to the winner. Stick around. Back at Kentucky Speedway here on Speed, Kenny Wallace, one of the best finishes we've seen in a long time.
Wow, and that man right there on the back of his car, it says Master Tire, but I believe he's the master here at Kentucky.
Jake Hobgood climbing out. You can tell by the smile how excited he is to bag his first victory of the season here at Kentucky Speedway. Brett McMillan ready to talk to the winner.
Jake, you've been snake bit all year long. Finally, one came through for you today.
Man, this was an awesome day. I'm going to tell you, I got to hand it to my guys in the pits. I believe they won us this race. You know, track position was so important with this car. You know, I got up behind Justin and Rob there at the first of the race, and we just kept getting aero push. We never could get the nose turned under them. And I told them, you know, if y'all can get us out front, we can get the air on the nose of this car. We can win this race. And they come hard there at the end, but, you know, that car was going to be awful wide to pass.
When you saw Huffman go into the pits again, what were the first thoughts of your mind?
Well, I was aware that he had a tire problem, and it really made me concerned with my car because we had experienced one in practice, but we had a good balance on this car. My dad, Will Hobgood, set this chassis up, and, you know, it was awesome today. It was phenomenal. I'd just like to say thanks to the good Lord. We had a good, safe race today, and, you know, what a beautiful place here in Kentucky. No better place to win.
And what were your thoughts on that final lap?
It was hairy. You know, I knew they were coming, and I could see them. And the 9 car, I think, and the 37 were racing side by side, so I knew if, you know, they didn't really have an aero advantage over me, and as long as I could block the bottom and make the car pretty wide and keep pulling one side versus the other, and we could pretty much keep them at bay.
Well, let's see. A few weeks ago, you found out you're expecting your first, and now you get your first win of the year. Hey, maybe things are turning around.
Hey, I hope so. You know, we're really excited, me and my wife, about our firstborn baby, and you know, this is a good way to start the year, and we'll end the year with a newborn baby, so that'll be a great year.
All right, Jake Hobgood finally in victory lane.
Boy, that makes it a special month for the Hobgood clan, doesn't it, Kenny Wallace?
It sure does. There he is. Jake the Snake Hobgood wins.
Robert Huffman does come home in second. Great run for Ned Combs, who doesn't run the full series at age 57. He steals third ahead of Chuck Kafrar, who maintains his lead in the Mag Clip Rookie of the Year race. Second 10, Kelly Sutton. We met her earlier. She comes home 11th ahead of Scott Weaver who had a penalty. Greg Miller and the great veteran Dean Combs, the 5-time series champion, gets a top 15. There are your final 6 finishers. Brian Lofton, who wrecked ahead of former champ Danny Bagwell and Johnny Chapman. Morrill, Humphrey, and Cicerelli bringing up the rest of the field here today. Jake Hobgood's bride in victory lane, helping celebrate things, and she has certainly got a lot to look forward to in the next couple of months. We'll come back and wrap things up in Kentucky after this.
This Speed Channel presentation is brought to you by Circuit City. We know the excitement you feel about the latest digital toys. That's why we're here. Circuit City, we're with you.
Welcome back to Kentucky Speedway. Victory Lane ceremonies continuing for the NASCAR Goodies Dash Tour. Jake Hobgood talking to the fans in Victory Lane about his great run to the front today. Never looked as though he had quite enough for the driver who finished second, but Robert Huffman developed tire problems, Brett McMillan, and he ends up with the runner-up spot.
Well, Robert Huffman, for a guy that had to go way back in the pack, had some tire problems, you made it pretty interesting.
Yeah, I tell you, we had an awful good race car, and you know, I knew before we pitted there for gas that the right side tires was blistering up because it just jumped sideways a time or two with me, and you know, I was easy as I could be there at the first of the race because I was afraid that would happen. But you know, if we wouldn't have changed tires, we wouldn't have had a shot at winning, and that's what we came here for. And hey, we put on a heck of a show for the fans, and that's 2 races here. It's been a pretty awesome race, and we've been in contention to win it. So, you know, White House Apple Juice Toyota run great all day long, and I think we led most laps and come away with a second place finish with 2 right side blistered tires like that. That's pretty good.
What were your thoughts going into that last lap? What was your strategy?
Well, I was in that same position here last year, and you know, I just couldn't get to run on him that I could get on cam over off the 4. Actually, I was a little better through 3 and 4, but he was better through 1 and 2, and you know, it just compromised itself out, and I didn't have enough laps racing right behind him to get me a good line. I had to pass him ahead and those guys right up to the last deal, and hey, he was just a little better than us today.
All right, good solid run for a guy who had some tire trouble today.
So Robert Huffman in second spot here when the checkered flag waves, and that changes things around in the points chase. 6 races complete of 14. Hobgood now with a 5-point lead over Robert Huffman. That's Jake Hobgood. Chuck Gaffrar is in 6th.
Ned Combs, you tried something a little different out there. You kind of came in early, made your adjustments there, and by gosh, you almost pulled this thing out.
Yeah, well, we were having to start so far back anyway, and we'd set the car up a little looser to run last night. So we thought, well, the best time would, before we got to going to go ahead and make the changes, and they were good. The car ran good all day.
I tell you, for a guy that's only running a part-time schedule this year, you got to leave here with a big smile on your face with a 3rd.
Yeah, we're fairly happy. We'd like to pull a win off, though. You know, Father's Day, my son was up there spotting for me. He was wanting it bad.
Ned, congratulations.
Thank you.
From 20th to 3rd, he's all broken up by it.
Yeah, isn't that the competitor, though? I mean, had a run of his life, but still saying, I wish you would have won. That's great.
Tight action in the Goodies Dash Series here at Kentucky Speedway. Hope you enjoyed our coverage today. For Brad McMillan and Kenny Wallace, I'm Rick Benjamin. A reminder, all the motorsports news you need 24/7 on our website, speedtv.com. We congratulate today's winner, Jake Hobgood. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time here on Speed.